Hello everybody, this is Reggie Time here again with Patrick with the second edition of our Stepping Stone series. And I'm just going to hand the video over to Patrick. Patrick's going to take most of the lead with the commentary, and I'm just going to interject when Patrick either wants me to or when I feel Patrick's missed a point or made some kind of mistake. So without further ado, let's hand it over to Patrick and go for it, sir.
Okay, thank you, Reg. Let's get started then. So the pool is quite small at the moment, so we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, we are recording this video at 8:30 AM GMT, so we're not expecting the pools to be super soft or anything. But I'm still expecting 5 and
Well,
it's
it
going to
could
be
be
soft. Yeah, it's going to be soft 24/7 probably, but it'll be less soft.
Yeah, most of the tables are 5-handed as well. Actually, all of them, I think.
So how many players are in the pool right now?
I think it was around 33 or something.
Is that all? I just played a 30 in our session and there was 50 odd in.
Yeah, the 5NL pool was the smallest one at the moment. The 10NL pool had like 50 players in it, but it seemed a little too tight. If this doesn't really work out, we can still hop in there for the video, so we'll see.
I think it's fine. Playing 5-handed is not a big problem anyway. It only means that we're doing away with under the gun. So it's not... Nothing else changes. It doesn't matter whether playing 5-handed or 3-handed. I mean, the button's still the button. The small blind's still the small blind. People seem to think ranges change, but they don't actually change. It just feels like they do because people just... in steel positions more. So if you played 3-handed constantly, you probably would end up being something like, who knows, 45-40. That wouldn't make you any laggier than you are at 6 max. It would just mean you'll appear more laggy because you're not just folding King 5 off it under the gun as often and things like that. So it's a common misconception that people have that you have to play looser when you play 3-handed. You don't. Just play your normal button range and your statistics will look looser, but you're not actually playing any looser than you typically do in any other time from the button. So I think people do
that makes a lot of sense
in short-handed games when there's just no reason to over-adjust. Just understand that you're just playing more against wider ranges from the button and then the cut-off and etc.
So while we were talking, I had 9-6 in the big blind, I think. Guy limped in from MP. When check on the flop, I had no showdown value there, so I decided to stab on the turn. He called the king high. We got it to showdown. So that's exactly the hand I want to make fold there, I guess.
It is, and then when people don't fold, that's something.
Fine.
It's fine, and we just know that he's like a loose, passive, stationary type player, and we don't try and just do that against him again, because I think it's fine when flops check through. I think we're fine to just pretty much stab any turn in limped pots. But when we find somebody who isn't folding king high, we just need to put a very quick note on, just so we don't try and bluff this guy again.
I should have actually made a note of that indeed. Well, he'll probably come up, so...
Yeah, it's a bit harder when we're making videos to remember doing that. But as long as we're doing that typically when we're just playing and our focus is just on playing and not on talking as well. I don't think we need to be taking notes in this video. If we can, great. If we can't, it's not a big deal. We can go back at the end of the session, find the hand and do it then.
Okay, so I've got 9s here, out of position. Guy isn't fully stacked. Actually, I'm going to fold here because I don't really like the set mining out of position thing.
Well, that's exactly right. And on top of that, we're not closing the action. So
right, exactly.
We could easily be facing a 4. But I think if we were closing the action there, and he's only made it 5 blinds, I think calling would be absolutely fine. But the thing is, we can call there, then the other guy can, whoever it was in the pot, can just go and make it $1 or something, and then we're going to have to fold anyway. So, yeah.
This one I think I'm calling, though, because we can probably set more. I expect him to call most of the times as well. We folded now. But
yeah, it was different.
It's a 2.5x, button flats. I expect him to be quite wide there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stab at this card, by the way.
And the big blinds...
But yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, the big blind's way less likely to squeeze there than in that last time with the 9s when the other guy was likely to 4-bet. Because the big blind, we don't know what the big blind's got at all. But in the other hand, we knew that the the other guy had already opened. So there's a way higher chance that he's going to make another raise in that spot than there was in this pot there with the sixes, where the big blind's going to fold most of the time. So I think it's different. We're less likely to expect to be facing a squeeze here than we are to expect to face a four bet in the other hand.
Exactly, and I've been playing 10 and L for the last couple of days, and I've noticed a big increase in squeezing and three betting from the blinds. Like at 5 and L, it doesn't happen too often, and we can fold pretty easily. And at 10 and L, like most of the well, what I think we can call regulars, they have a tendency to three bet and squeeze really light. I'm not sure which ones of them are doing it very light yet. I'll have to review that for myself and Hold'em Manager. But yeah, that's probably the limit change where I think 5 and L is even more straightforward than 10 and L is.
Yeah, be careful you don't over adjust, because I'd be surprised if at 10 and L people were three betting too light. I mean, I would definitely be, before I made any huge adjustments, I would be
Yeah,
allowing myself
exactly.
to
I'm
settle in
still.
and start developing some reads on people, because it's something that can often happen when we move up and we're just more sensitive to subtle changes, and we are definitely at risk of overreacting to them. So just to give yourself time to settle in. Maybe if you do feel you're facing too many three bets, perhaps the first adjustment to make would be to tighten up a little bit just until you're sure that you're facing more three bets and you're getting better reads on your new opponents. That would be my
Yeah, and
initial.
that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, good
Exactly.
stuff.
I've just started stealing a little tighter.
Yeah, that seems to make
Um,
more sense in the short term. And then when we find the
exactly, and
players
I'm,
that are getting out of line, we can start making plans for them. But we need to know that they're definitely getting out of line first.
yeah, exactly, and yeah, I'm still figuring that stuff out. So pretty standard pot there, I guess.
Yep.
This one, when checked all the way, I don't think I can bet there.
Don't you? I think
Um,
we can bet now.
I've already checked.
Ah, right, sorry. No, I think we could have
But
bet
yeah,
now.
maybe we could have bet indeed, but yeah, that would pretty much be to pick up the that money in the pot.
I bet 10 cents here and expect people to call me with pocket sixes, things like that.
Yeah,
I'm not betting to get
actually that
folds, I'm betting for value.
yeah
Just
that
because I
makes
don't think
sense
anyone's
actually.
got an ace. And so I'm only worried about somebody now having trip tens of hands that beat me. And somebody did have. So yeah, I would definitely have lost some more there, but
Well, let's
um,
max value there.
never mind.
So this guy limps in with a pretty short stack, 25 big blinds. Don't really want to do anything
I
there.
would I
Just
would
gonna fold.
complete there, because look at the big blind too. He's got he only had $3.36, so we're going to have a chance to play a suited ace um, against two players who aren't fully stacked in a really small pot. So I think for the 3 cents or whatever it is, getting 4-1, I think we were getting. I think I definitely would have completed.
I think that actually would be okay, yeah.
I mean, if there's a regular in the blinds, it might be less okay, because regular's way more likely to try and isolate the limper after we just complete. But when it's just another fishy-looking player, yeah, I think completing would have been okay.
Okay, I think I wanted two streets of value here, especially when he checked down trip tens all the way to the river. He had
Can you
eight
just pull that
six.
up? Can you just pull that up a little bit so it's going to be
Oh yeah,
right?
sure.
Excellent, thank you. Just so it doesn't look like just half on the screen.
So if I had a suited hand, I would consider a raise here maybe, just
Yeah,
to isolate him. But with an offsuit, I'm really not planning to.
yeah, I think ace three off's definitely on the thin side there.
So yeah, we bet flop, we bet turn, we checked river. I think that's fine.
I think it's fine. I think against players like Sergey, who might be a fish, I think we could also put a really small block bet in there too and just fold if he raises. I think checking is fine, as long as we're checking to fold, because I don't think Sergey is going to be the type to turn any hands into a bluff there. So it depends what you're checking with the intention of what.
We'll be betting here for value. I think this sizing is okay. Expecting a call from a queen or a king, whatever. If he raises, probably folding. Actually, I think I'm pretty sure I'm folding there.
Yeah, I think that's fine. To go back to the Sergey hand a minute though, what was your plan on the river when you
Yeah.
checked? Was it because to me, I would if I'm checking to Sergey there, I'm probably checking to fold
Um,
because I
yeah,
don't think
actually, I think
Sergey's
so
going
as
to be
well.
the guy that bluffs very often.
Um, Calling this 5 cents again. We don't get it. Can't really call.
No, of course not. I think that's fine.
Yeah. I think I would actually fold there as well because, as I said, he checked down trip tens, although he turned and rivered them like 3 hands before. So I think if he raises there, we got to give him credit.
Yeah, I think that's slightly different because he was probably going for a check raise, wasn't he?
Well, I
Whereas he
mean, like
can't
I
go for
think he
a,
should, yeah.
whereas he can't go for a check raise when he's in position. So I think it's slightly different. But yeah, it's just very likely Sergey is very just passive and not very good. Ah, this is
So button
interesting.
3 bets here. Not too happy with ace queen off here. This is also quite interesting. Don't think we can fire. Just hoping to take this down on showdown. Just gonna fold there.
I think that's too tight. And because I don't believe in ghosting, and for anyone that watches the videos, when I do coach with people, I don't actually tell people what to do in live sweats because I don't think that's particularly ethical. But I wouldn't have folded the ace queen there. But I didn't want to say to you, don't fold. Because look what's happened. If we can just pause the video a moment. Because, I mean, we've folded our
Um,
hand and no one's really done anything too extravagant yet.
yeah, it. Yeah, he just folded to the 3 bet there.
I mean, we've had some guy min open from the cutoff or 2.5x. We've had some other guy just make a 6 big blind 3 bet, and we've got a hand as strong as ace queen. I think I would have just put a called 4 bet in there. And neither player had a full stack, so if we do end up stacking off, um, it's not as expensive. It's not as much of a big mistake if we do get it wrong and one of them does have aces or kings or something, because neither of the guys are full stacked. So they both like to be fish, which means they both like to be making bigger mistakes. And who knows, one or both of them might be the type of player that just stacks off with ace jack there, or just stacks off with pocket sixes or something. So I definitely would have put a call 4 bet in there with the ace queen. I wouldn't fold ace queen to a 2.5x open and a 6 big blind 3 bet. Cut off versus button versus my small blind. I think you definitely were just a little bit too. I mean, there's probably nothing wrong with folding there, but I think 4 betting is probably, not probably, almost certainly profitable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it makes sense what you're saying. I don't think I've 4 bet very often. When I do, it's mainly with like really the top of my range just for value.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is against two players who aren't fully stacked, ace queen can be for value because people with less than full
Yeah,
stacks
exactly.
screw up way more often than regulars do. They make way more
Yeah,
screws.
that
Who
makes a
knows?
lot of
They
sense.
might just stack king queen there. They might just stack ace jack. I mean, who knows what the stacking off ranges are? But because they're not playing full stacks, because they're showing not much the cut off because he just made an open, but the buttons made a really small size 3 bet. So they're not. Nothing they've done so far is going to indicate that they're any good at poker, which means they're probably going to have wider stacking off ranges because they're bad.
So this is the same guy from that hand actually who 2.5x'd and then got 3 bet. So he seems to fold a lot on 3 bets, although our sample size is 2, so
Yeah.
can't be too sure.
No, we can't be too sure, but no, just in future, if you get ace queen, and we're playing against people with 60 big blinds or so, we should be more inclined to be looking to play a reasonably big pot with it. I mean, we
So I
can't.
folded my ace-8 suited under the gun.
Yep, I think
I
that's
think
fine.
that's
I mean,
fine.
if we have some weak players in the blinds, we can definitely consider opening it, but I don't think we know too much about these players now. When I've got a hand like ace-8 suited under the gun, I will open it if there's players in the big blind with less than 100 big blind stacks.
Exactly.
If there aren't any players like that, then I just fold it. If there are players like that, then I open it. That's pretty much how I play
Yeah,
that hand.
same for me. When I see like people with 80 big blind stacks or whatever, I'm generally happy to open it. But the big blind had a 400 big blind stack, I think, and small blind was half stacked, I think. Gonna try to isolate him here. King 5, I think, is an open suited. It's an okay flop. Yeah. It's not the best of turn cards, but we're still barreling this one. If he raises, I'm probably going to fold. When he calls again, I'm wondering if we do have a tin value bet here. I think we do. About $1. I don't expect to get called too often, but you could definitely call with like King Jack or Ace 8 or whatever.
I would have shoved. That would have been my thing there. I just think he's going to have 10 Jack, King Jack, Queen Jack. Who knows what else?
Well, you nailed it.
I would just have shipped it in his face. When he just goes check, call, check, call, check there. And we've managed to set up stacks on the turn so we can shove the river without being an overbet. I think it's a shame to not shove the river. I mean, sometimes I guess he might turn up with a better hand, but I mean, it's going to be super profitable shove there. I just think we're just leaving money on the table. It's a leak that a lot of players have, where they miss value by either checking back or not making a big enough bet. But they don't mind so much because it doesn't feel like they've lost money because they haven't made a bad call or whatever. So it's the kind of mistake people make. They don't even realise they're making the mistake, but missing value there. We've missed. I don't know how much we're in on the river, 125. So we've left 130 on the table there. I mean, if we made a $1.30 call that was bad, we'd probably kick ourselves. And that's, to me, that's the same as making a bad call there, leaving 130 on the table.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there.
But again, because I don't like to just like tell people what to do when I'm playing, I think that's not right. I think it's not the right thing to do. I didn't want to say yes, shove, but yeah, in future you want to be, when we got top pair, top kicker against somebody who's just limp called and then gone check, call, check, call, check, we should be, and we set up stacks to shove the river, we should probably just shove the river.
Yeah, I agree on that. Missed out on that one a little. So I got 8s here, that's quite interesting. I'm just gonna fold them because I think if I call, then this guy has a pretty easy squeeze, and I don't like 3-betting them myself.
Well, if we just squeeze, we have a pretty easy back raise jam, as long as the button gets out of the way. Because I think if against someone who's only got sorry, I've lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Yeah, if he shoves and he's only got like less than 40 blinds, which he did have, and the button gets out of the way, I think we're going to have a pretty comfortable call. With 2-8, I think 2-8 is going to be fine there to get it in pre against somebody with a whatever it was 30 odd big blind stack. So I would.
Yeah,
I mean, my reason
40,
for not calling there wouldn't be because I'm worried about the big blind squeezing. It would be more because I'm worried about the big blind squeezing and then the button staying in the pot and then me being in an awkward spot. If it was just concerned about the button squeezing and the big blind squeezing and the button folding, that's not a problem to me because then I'm just going to shove the rest in. What I'm actually hoping happens there is I call, I'm hoping the big blind shoves, I'm hoping the button folds so that I can just snap the shove off, and I think we're going to be in okay shape. We're going to be flipping a lot, but I mean, I think we're going to be fine. We're going to certainly have a plus EV call. You just seem like you maybe being maybe just a little bit risk averse. I mean, a little bit too cautious maybe. With the ace queen now where we could have 4-bet, and we've made 2 quite tight folds, and I'd much rather see people make folds that are too tight than be making too many loose calls. But I think we're just maybe just a tiny bit on the too tight side.
Yeah, definitely could be, but as I said, I've been playing 10-L for the last couple of days.
It's not a criticism, by the way, because I'd much rather see people. I mean, I'm a pretty tight player myself, so I'm not criticising you for it, but I think we maybe just expand our range just a fraction and be doing absolutely fine with it still.
Yeah, I agree with you actually, but maybe it's because of the adjustments I've recently made when I jumped into 10 and L, because I've been getting tree bet a lot and stuff. So yeah, it's actually a good wake-up call again to start playing back again, I guess.
Good stuff. That's why we like to do these sessions. Because these are just the little small things that are sometimes in our game. And we just don't always know. Sometimes it just takes someone to say, wow, that seems a bit tight to me. And then sometimes that's all it takes is just to open our minds a little bit and then we make another jump forward again.
Um, Same thing here, really. Like, don't know the player at all. If it was a suited hand, could probably tree bet it for value, but now I don't really like it, and I'm just gonna fold. I'm not sure if you agree on that.
No, I think again that's for me it's too tight.
Yeah, it could be, but um,
I think it's
yeah,
fine
we're
just to
playing out
call
of
there.
position.
Just we can
Yeah, we
just
could
call.
call.
It's only 7. It's he's made it 2.5x. I think again it's just a little bit too tight. King Queen off very playable. It's going to be doing just fine. Um, yeah, I mean I would have played the hand. There's nothing that wrong with folding in marginal spots out of position. Wow.
Okay, so we're getting squeezed here. Didn't really expect that. But, yeah, just gotta give it up.
Yeah, I think we
Trees is a
should.
bit too
We
marginal.
can't always expect it, but as long as we know what we're going to do, should it happen, I mean it's fine. I would always call with threes there.
You would?
I would always
Oh,
would,
on
yeah.
that button, you mean, right?
Yes. I wouldn't
I
call. I
think we
wouldn't
can
call the
tree bet
squeeze.
for value here.
Good stuff.
This seems like a pretty obvious c bet to me. Instantly called. Kind of like the ace here, because it makes it less. Yeah, we got to call him off. I'm not too happy about it. Oh, he shipped sevens.
Right, so when we bet here with the king, what are we hoping to get value from?
Not sure actually. Oh, we suck out on him with a 4-card flush. That's a good question. I think flush draws, although they're not so likely. Maybe
So because
pocket tens or
he
whatever.
snapped the flop. He absolutely
Yeah,
snap called the flop, which usually indicates a draw, but the only draws on that board are gut shots. So I mean, he could have had a gut shot. If it's not indicating a draw, it's either going to be weak ace or underpair, in my opinion. Something
yeah,
like it's either going to be somebody who's like, oh fuck it, I've got 2 8s, 2 9s, whatever, and it's not going to fall for one bet, so I call. Or it's somebody with I don't know, ace, 8 ace, 9 ace, 10, something like that. I didn't like the turn bet because I don't know what we get value from, and we're not certainly not going to bluff him off an ace. So it's saying,
that makes
are we
sense.
going to bluff him off King Queen or King Jack? Seems unlikely. Maybe, who knows? But it doesn't work too well as a bluff because there's not enough. There's only like 2 better hands we can realistically make him fold. So
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't like the bet. I would have preferred to, if we're going to put some more money on that turn, I would probably rather check call and just maybe get some bluffs from his floats, or maybe he turns pocket eights into a bluff there when we check, or something like that. And then I would probably have gone for a check call turn, check fold river line there, because I'm presuming if he called, we were going to check the river anyway. So I think we just keep
yeah,
his range wider
definitely.
by, for the same cost, we keep his range wider by going check, call. Or who knows, it might even just go check, check, and then we can thin value the river then. And it's more likely he might call with his bluff catchers then because he doesn't have the fear of facing a third barrel.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Don't think the turn bet was that great,
No,
and
I don't think it.
also, yeah, I think we can still can get value of the river from worse, and we're probably not getting called by worse. So this is interesting. I'm gonna try to squeeze this one. If he ships, I'm folding.
Wow, I don't think we can we? I mean, look how much we look at the price we're going to be getting.
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not too happy.
No, no, we're obviously not happy about it. But I mean, now
Oh,
we could
he
probably
flats
fold
it
now
there.
he's come
Yeah.
along. But I'm not sure I would want to squeeze fold there when we're going to be getting 2 to 1.
Jack 5 suited is pretty loose, but this guy doesn't seem to be too great with this 90 big blind stack. So in position, I think we can play that.
Yep,
Okay.
you're right. He probably isn't too great.
So I had kings, yeah,
Yeah,
ace 10. Wow.
I mean, I have no issue with you understanding there that once he shoves, his range is pretty strong. But we should be considering that before we squeeze. And I think squeeze folding ace queen there against some guy who's got a less than 50 big blind stack is pretty bad. If we don't want to get it in pre versus him, we probably shouldn't squeeze, because what we're effectively doing there is turning ace queen into a bluff where we never really get a better hand to fold.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think it makes the squeeze really bad if we're then going to fold when somebody shoves on us. When we were going to have 155 into like $3.18 or something, so we're getting 2-1 on a call, and we're only crushed by basically two hands.
So that's a pretty big three bet there.
It certainly is.
Um, I'm just gonna fold because I think calling there really gets you into troublesome situations
Yeah, I
very
think
easily.
if we don't put the cutoff or the button, then we might be more inclined to call,
Yeah,
because our
exactly.
range and his range are both likely to be wider. But from middle position, I think we can make a tight fold there and not worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can't really be too sure if he's actually thinking of position in that case.
Well, we can't be, but
Um,
in the
this
light
is
of
really pretty bad flop.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
in the absence of any other information, I guess we have to just take what's there for us, and that's it. And it is middle position versus big blind, which typically people's three bet range versus middle position is going to be a lot tighter than it is versus cut off or button. You would imagine, but yeah, we don't know for sure, so we can only make a loose assumption.
So we got a three bet for value here. Just gonna make it over half pot because with a stack we can still size it decently on the turn so we can ship the river. That's my
Good
plan for
stuff.
now.
I like it.
I've got to play back on this min raise, I think. So yeah, if we bet about 125 here, 135, then it's an easy river ship, I think. I'm not folding when he ships the turn there.
No, of course not.
And then, yeah, I think this is the perfect sizing.
I was
Oh,
about to say the
brilliant.
10's quite unfortunate, because now he maybe folds two nines, but clearly not. Clearly he was never going to fold two nines there if he's not folding 9-8.
Brilliant stuff, right?
Yeah, that was perfect,
uh,
and
so
it
my
does
queen
kind of show
three
the merit
suited here.
of not bluffing too often in these games, because he's got a hand there he should really be finding a four with at some point, and it just goes to show people don't fold pairs very often.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think I should just be a little bit tighter pre-flop as well. Not in the spots we've discussed so far. I completely agree with you there, but what I've said before, like sometimes I get in with like king three off or whatever, small blind versus big blind or on the button,
Yeah,
and I don't think it's profitable to play.
I think what we've
So there's a
confirmed in
pretty
this
big
video
raise.
so far is that any time that we're going to go for like bluffs versus people, multi-street bluffs, we probably shouldn't do it very often, because people, once they call flop, call turn, they usually call river. So I think what the takeaway for anyone watching this video who isn't at your level yet is we should definitely be triple barrel bluffing much less, but certainly be going for much more thin value. I think not going for thin value is certainly one of the biggest leaks of break-even micro stakes players who've got pre-flop pretty well. It's definitely one of the biggest leaks. I'm not saying you've got it for the record. I'm just saying that it happened. Just that hand there really does show why bluffing isn't too clever in these games, but why thin value betting is so awesome. Because we could have, like, we've got a guy calling us off with second pair in a 3-bet pot. Yeah, thin
So
values
like
and
a stab here when
the
he
micro stakes.
checks. Hmm.
So now your
I'm just
decision,
wondering what he calls the flop with.
yeah, your decision is:
I'm
do we have
actually
enough
think
showdown value, or do you have to bluff? That's a decision you need to make now.
I actually think we're going to pick this up quite often. Like he could have king queen, whatever, maybe ace queen, 8 9, whatever. And he's gonna have a 10 or a jack sometimes, but king jack.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was never folding that. And
Nah.
again, it just clarifies the point where let's not be bluffing too often, because he's played that hand really passively. Once we check back the turn there, he should be betting the river all the time with his king jack.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed as well. The snap games at 888 there really are super passive.
Yeah, I mean he's bluff catching there when we've already looks like we've given up, but he's still bluff catching. And yeah, these are things we should definitely be noting. Things that like people who don't bet the river after we show turn weakness with made hands, we should be absolutely noting that, because it can absolutely be used against people in future spots. Because it really messes the river ranges up. It makes them super polarised when they finally do bet a river. It makes them ridiculously polarised to misdraws or sets and things. If you can't value bet top pair good kicker there in a small pot on that board, you're going to be quite easy to play against.
Okay, so
Just before you make any decision on this hand on the right, just consider the stack depth.
yeah, we're really deep. I think we can call the 5 cents.
Yeah, which makes making a flush really really cool. If we can make the nut flush, we'll be 200
Exactly.
blinds
Yeah.
deep.
I was still thinking about the other hand, but yeah, this didn't work out, but it's fine. I would normally always call there when we're over 200 big blinds deep. And he seems to min raise as his standard size as well, because I've seen him do that quite a couple of times now. I mean, like for the extra 5 cents, you can't really fold there, I think.
No, I think folding would be a mistake for sure.
So we called here. I think we can barrel maybe to make him fold a draw.
We don't want to fold a draw.
We've got equity. Okay, that's not gonna happen, it seems. So like a half pot stab here. I'm not going to continue the bluff here.
I didn't like the turn barrel there, based on what we've been talking about recently in this video about people not folding and people having like check call ranges like that, like ace queen king jack. When the turn bricked off with the 4, I would again have just tried to hit my jack or my king. I wouldn't have, because the turn's a brick, so we pick up absolutely no fold equity on that turn card, and we don't pick up any pot equity either. So I would just have checked back there and just tried to hit one of my 6 outs, 7 outs.
That actually makes sense. Yeah.
We've talked about already in this video, we shouldn't be trying to run multi-street bluffs against people who are weak tight, and that's, we try to bluff weak tight people when they start calling is probably a big mistake, because they turn up with hands like ace queen, hands like king jack, etc. And I think we should probably assume most of the regulars in these games are going to be weak tight. That's why they're still playing 5-L, because they've learned to be tight, but they haven't learned to be aggressive yet. So once we get people like that, we probably shouldn't be trying to run the multiple street bluffs. And again, don't run the bluffs, run the thin value bets instead.
Yeah, I agree on that. And yeah, those are the spots really, like, I feel I still need to improve.
Well, it's not so much you need to improve them, it's just we don't know enough about our opponents, which is a shame. Because if he's like a really, for example, if he was playing 80/2, I think we could fire a turn barrel there, because he's going to have way too much crap in his range. But if he's playing 18/5, then we probably wouldn't want to barrel a turn. And that's kind of the issue we have with Snap, is we need to try and get reads on players as quickly as we can, at least on their like pre-flop ranges, because it just helps us so much post flop because we can definitely double barrel there against people who call really wide pre and then float really wide on flops. We can definitely double barrel. But if that's, like I said, if that's somebody who's playing, who knows, 16/6 or 20/4 or anything like that, then we probably don't want to be double barreling as much because they're just way more likely to have a hand that isn't folding. So we're in difficult spots because we just don't know enough about our opponents. So once someone's called a flop bet and I don't know much about an opponent, I'm usually just going to try and keep the pot small and just kind of give up, hope to hit. Maybe if I had a completely zero equity hand then I may have gone for it. But when I've got king high so I can hit a king and I can hit a jack, I'm probably just going to try and hit one of my outs and then maybe go for some thin value on the river.
So I'm not too happy with my sevens here.
No.
He bets a quarter pot, but then still it's four-handed. I don't think we can have a call there. And I agree with you. Like at 5NL, most of the people are unknown to me because I haven't played this limit a lot. But on 10NL, I do have a bunch of notes already. So for our next video, we're actually going to be able to work with those as well.
Yeah, no, that wasn't a criticism for you, by the way, because the 5NL pool over the course of a week is going to have thousands of people going through it. It's going to be almost impossible to keep track of them all. So it wasn't a criticism, it was just an observation of the nature of 5NL Snap. That's all it was.
Just decided to call here. I think this is a pretty good board for him to fire. We could float, but then don't like that. Just gonna give up.
I think the problem with floating there is that he's going to have an ace too often for a start, which is clearly a problem. But secondly, if he has some kind of pair, he's probably going to go into check call mode at a spot where we're probably going to start bluffing when he checks. So I think it's like a double-edged problem. And it's only king 10 high. I think if you had king queen or something there, we can maybe consider floating more. But when we just have king 10 high, it's not the biggest mistake in the world to be getting bluffed off king 10 there. If he is bluffing, it's not the end of the world.
So I'm gonna free bet here. It's for value. And I also want to play a heads up pot and don't want him to come along as well. So calling is never an option and neither is folding there.
What if you had a known fish in the big blind there?
Yeah, we were talking about that, of course. Then I think calling is perfectly fine because the button is probably loose. And we want to get the fish in the pot as well. Actually, I'm just going to fold this one.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was really an eye-opener for me when you dropped that content yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake people make, and just so people understand what we're talking about, we had a discussion in our Skype chat yesterday, 3 or 4 of us. We're discussing the merits of 3-betting versus calling with hands like ace queen when we have weak players to act behind us. I think when we have strong players to act behind us, I think 3-betting is absolutely fine with a hand like ace queen, because we kind of exactly what Patrick said. We want to get the pot heads up. We want to try and force strong players out of the pot as early as possible. We don't want to be playing too many pots against strong players who can like squeeze us there and put us in some tough spots, etc. But if there's weak players behind us and we're up against a button range that's going to be pretty wide too, then calling with hands like ace queen there becomes a much more viable option, because if we 3-bet, we're just going to force the weak player out of the pot more often who's yet to act. And we're also going to be forcing the button to play a narrower range against us. So what we effectively end up doing is just forcing all the weak stuff out of the pot and just ending up playing against stronger ranges. Which is fine if we're up against good players, because because good players are going to make more tight folds against us. But against bad players there, if the big blind's a fish, and he might just come along with queen 9 offsuit if we call, we don't want him to fold queen 9 offsuit and things like that. So that's kind of the basic principle. When there's good players to act behind and only good players, we should be more inclined to 3-bet all of our hands. Excuse me. And when there's bad players to act behind, we should be more inclined to call with our good hands and keep the bad players in the pot. That's the basic premise of that. There's more to it than that, but just so people understand kind of the thing we were talking about.
Yeah, and then, as I said, I've never actually thought of it that way until yesterday when you came along with that explanation of it. But
Yeah, we just need to
yeah,
understand where your profit comes from. It usually comes from bad players, so we don't want to be blowing bad players out of pots when we've got good hands.
exactly.
That's kind of where I come from with it.
So I'm a bit worried if this guy limps in and we isolate. Okay, he's gonna raise, so I'm gonna fall. Wasn't sure if I was going to isolate there because the two guys in the blinds would have a pretty easy squeeze there, I think.
They would have an
Or
easy
just a
squeeze,
light three bet.
but by the same token, I think they're less likely to squeeze because of the limper stack size. Because they open themselves up to, just say they were to squeeze there with, say we made a loose open, a loose isolation, and then they're really going to start three betting too light there when the person that we all want to play a pot with's got less than 40 blinds and is just very prone to just shipping all his money in and then freezing them out of the pot. So I think people are less likely to three bet as a bluff when the person that's being isolated has a shortish stack because they know they're going to have to go to showdown more often.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I just decided to three bet here. I think it's in three bet for value, of course, and also if we flat is 2.5x, then we're probably going to play a family pot with ace king, and that's absolutely going to suck. That's not what we want.
It's not the end of the world, but no, I mean, if we think we can get value straight away, we should certainly be taking it. I think we can call from the button there. If it's button versus cut-off, we can sometimes call if we want. And I do a lot more calling than a lot of players because of the topic we just discussed. If I think there's bad players behind, I do a lot more calling. But without reads on the players behind, I think three betting is going to be the best option.
So we have to play back to this guy and pick up a gut shot, backdoor flush. It's not a great board for us though. Yeah, I'm just gonna give that one up. Ace jack. It's pretty much the same thing as what we had with ace queen before. We raise from MP. I'm just gonna fold it. Ace jack is even worse than ace queen, of course.
Excuse me. Can we pull the 9-7 hand up again, please?
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, I have to open this one.
I'm just going to mute my microphone a minute just while I cough because I've got a cough I need to clear. So yeah, that was a pain in the bum. I had to clear that.
There it is.
I think we had, in my opinion, if we're going to defend a hand like 9-7 suited, flop a gut shot with a backdoor flush draw, and then just check fold. I mean, I would have check raised there, and we.
Yeah,
I don't think you ever do check raise bluffs. I don't think you have any in your range. I don't actually recall in every session I've done with you. I don't ever recall us even check raising once. So I'm not sure what your check raise percentage is, but I'm sure we could certainly start to try and find spots where we can check raise both for value and as a bluff. And
yeah, actually.
Because you actually identified.
You're absolutely right.
I have a backdoor flush draw and I have a gut shot. To me, again, on dry boards where people are going to see bet quite often, because that board was dry and people see bet dry boards way more than they do wet boards, I think that's a good spot to check raise bluff. And then just give up. If we don't hit a heart or if we don't hit our straight, we just give up. We check raise bluff with the plan of barreling any heart and any 8. Which is around, it's getting on for nearly a quarter of the deck. So it's not like we're just always check raising and always just never putting any more money in the pot. And again, I think it's just another spot where you're maybe just being a little bit too risk averse and just trying to be too careful. And
this is an interesting one. I'm just gonna call here. I'm not too happy with it actually, but I don't think we can 3-bet for value.
Don't you?
I don't want to.
I do. I think we can 3-bet for value all day against some guy with that stack size. I think we can 3-bet. depolarised against fish with hands like ace jack suited all day, every day. I would have three bet that for value for sure there. I would have been a bit sick if he'd four bet shoved on me, but I would have called it off. But I definitely think we could three bet for value against a player there with less than 100 big blinds.
I feel like we have to call here because I expect him to bet his 10 on the flop already. And we do have the flush draw, two overs, which are not going to be good all of the time. And the king is an unfortunate river. We just have to give up there. Yeah, so you would actually three bet it for value there, you said?
Again, yeah, absolutely. I'm three bet for value because I'm expecting to call a lot of the time. Yeah, it's going to suck when he four bet shoves on us because he's going to have aces, kings, queens, and things like that most of the time. But he's going to have hands that his worst hands he's going to be calling with way more often than he's going to have hands he's going to be four betting with. And if he is four betting too much, then we have an okay call with ace jack. Where if he is like four bet jamming 2 8s there, or if he's four bet jamming king queen, all sort of things like that, we're fine. We have a profitable call. I think it's a super profitable spot, and it's where you're going to make a heck of a lot of your money in these games, is by making light three bets of value against players with those stack sizes, because they're the guys we're going to make all our money from. These are the net depositors, these are the donators in these games.
So that's a blank. That's interesting.
And I'm not sure why we didn't just shove that turn against some guys who only got $1.37.
Yeah, well, on this river I'm definitely shoving, but
I think we can shove the turn there and get all kinds of value still. Yeah, it's bad that the top card's paired, but we can still get loads of calls from 7x draws. Who knows what else?
Yeah, you're right, definitely.
Yeah, you just seem to be in this session, and I don't know if it's because you're trying to play too perfectly because it's a video or not, I'm not sure, but you certainly seem to be just a little bit gun shy in some spots.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure why actually. It may be because of yesterday when I started tightening up a little again, but maybe I'm really overcompensating again.
Yeah, maybe you have just slightly over-adjusted. And that's not a problem. It really isn't a problem. It's playing that little bit too tight isn't the biggest problem in the world. It's certainly a very easy one to fix. Yeah, but you definitely seem to me there's been now 3 or 4 spots I think where we've missed opportunities to put some extra action in. And yeah, they're all of them probably not super plus EV spots, but they're all plus EV spots, particularly in these games. I think we had the ace queen where we could have put the code 4 bet in. I think we missed some of the value earlier with the ace jack. I think we missed an opportunity just recently with the ace jack suited, and we should have shoved the turn there with the 2 9s. So yeah, they're all just like mistakes on the tight side, which is certainly better than having mistakes on the loose side. But yeah, it's definitely something you should be. You should be wary of. Aware of, yeah, just being aware that you're not playing too tight and just missing some good value spots. Because the quickest way to grow a bankroll is by making sure we get every bit of value that's available to us. Without question, that's the quickest way to do it. It's slightly more high variance because sometimes the problem with thin value is sometimes we just end up getting caught by worse. That's what makes it thin. But overall, so long as you've got a strong mental disposition, which I know you do have, and you're not prone to losing confidence quickly or tilting, which I know neither of those things are a big issue with you, I think you can certainly be going for some thin value more often.
Yeah, I actually feel like my thin value betting has already quite improved. Like especially on the river, I do actually bet for thin value quite a lot. And
yep, you do. We just need now to.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Oh, this is a good spot for a squeeze. Actually, it's not a squeeze, but if he ships, I'm not going to be too happy, but I'm going to call. So here, I think we do have the barrel. We could probably fold an ace high with a turn bet there. Unfortunately, we miss, and I'm just going to give up. I'm rarely 3-barrel bluff, and we actually win with king high.
I was actually about to say I didn't like that turn barrel, but as it turns out, you were value betting. I love it. No, but again, we talked about it earlier. I wouldn't have barreled there because I just don't think the 6 gives us any kind of fold equity. I would have barreled any card, like any Broadway card there, because obviously 2 of them hit us, and 3 of them hit us, and the ace is always a good card to barrel. But I wouldn't barrel the 6 because if you think about what his calling range is in that flop, a 10x, 9x, middle pairs, straight draws. I don't think he's going to fold any of that on the turn 6. So even though we had turned out we won the pot, I would just remember to not be too. I mean, it almost seems to me like there's twice now where we've been more happy bluffing the turn than we have been thin valuing the turn.
Sorry, I didn't get that last part.
Well, the
Mic
last part
froze
was
for
on the
for a
other
moment.
hand, just before when we had the 2 9s, we checked the turn on a board that was very similar. If we could just tell you what, it'd be a nice way to end the video actually. If we could pull both of those hands up, the 2 9s and the king queen, just then, because I think they're both very similar, and you took different lines, and to me you got it the wrong way around with them. So I think it's a very interesting point to end the video on.
Okay. So not too happy with this river. This kind of sucks, but don't consider. Yeah, he could be bluffing his hearts here for getting 41. I kind of feel like I have to make that crying call here.
Yeah, we have the nut bluff catcher, so
Just
why not?
yes, 3-8. Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
This is a pretty bad river card for us. He called flop. I checked behind the turn, which I think is fine, and then this is just an unfortunate run out, and I'm just gonna fold. So you wanted to round up the video?
Yeah, I want to go, but yes, I want to end the video, but I also want to look at
Yeah,
the 2
so I'm
9s
gonna sit out.
from the left table and the king queen at the right table, and try and I think I can make a good point that's like
Okay.
encapsulates what we've talked about in the video and what I think hasn't really sunk in yet with you while we've been making the video, because you've obviously had a lot more to think about.
Not too happy with C betting here. Oh, play couple royal. He instantly checked. A royal draw. I'm just gonna check. And when he checks back again, I expect actually to win this one quite often on
Yeah, I
Showdown.
thought we had the best hand there a lot of the time.
But yeah, we can't really value bet king either. So which hand was it again?
It was
Where-
pocket 9s on table 1, where we had the pocket 9s and we won a decent sized pot. Not that one though. It was a different
Nope.
pocket 9s.
This one, I
That
think.
one, and then we
Yeah.
had king queen on the other table.
So just waiting for the blinds to come along. Well, this is actually pretty sweet to end the session with.
Oh, lovely.
So I'm gonna bet 2/3. If he calls here, the pot's going to be 77 cents. So we bet 60, I guess, and chip the river. Okay. Now I don't think it makes any sense to just chip here. I'm just gonna call, let him
Love
fire.
it. I love it. Absolutely love it.
I don't think he has a
I think
load
we
of.
maybe could have called too quickly there. We don't be careful. We don't want to give too many timing tells off.
I'm just gonna call again, and I think that's a okay card. Okay.
I think he's probably just got a bluff here. I mean, I was still shove, but I think
Yeah.
he's probably just got a bluff most of the time.
Yeah, I think he's gonna fold most of the time. Yeah.
And that's why you played, in my opinion, I really love your line there, because you kept all his bluffs in. When he checkmin raises a king 3-10 bone dry board like that, he was not repping very much, particularly when we block all the kings he can have really. So he's either going to have a set of 3s or a set of 10s, which we're going to stack anyway, so we don't risk losing any value, or he's going to have a complete bluff. So I mean, our line was, in my opinion, was perfect there.
So this is the king queen you were talking about, right?
Yes. So let's
Okay, so I've got both
tackle
of them.
both of them at the same time if we can, street by street.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
in fact, no, it's just the turns that we need to consider really, because it's a turn where we see bet both flops as we should, and then the turn you elect to not see bet for value with the two nines,
Yep.
but that you elect to see bet bluff with the to double barrel bluff with the king queen, and I think we've got that the wrong way around because
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Yeah, definitely.
because I mean we can't. The reason where I mean the six doesn't really change anything with the king queen, so it's what are we hoping to make him fold? Ace high maybe. I mean maybe he just float ace high there, but all his ace highs pre-flop. A decent amount of them are folded on that flop. So we're not getting to fold any ace highs. Yeah, we might get him to fold hands like two fours, two fives. Probably not going to fold two sevens on that turn card. Now he picks up a good shot. So I don't think we're going to get him to fold very much. But by the same
Right.
token, on the left hand side, because for the same reasons, we're not going to get him to fold very much. He's not going to fold two sixes on the left hand side table, for example. He's not going to fold 7x. He might not fold 5x. He's not going to fold maybe Jack 10, who knows what, there's all sorts of value we can get for the same reasons that we can't really bluff the turn on the right hand table, we can absolutely value bet shove the turn on the left hand table. And it's like
Yeah.
you elected to bluff in a spot where people call too much and then not value bet in a spot where people call too much. And to me that's back to front.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I should have, especially with the nines, I should have just shipped the
So
turn
I
there.
just thought it was two good hands played close together. That was just a good point. They've encapsulated a lot we've talked about in the video because we have talked a lot on the video about thin value and not bluffing. So, and then right at the end of the video, we didn't go for the thin value on the turn and we did bluff, which kind of goes against the things we've talked about. But I
Yeah.
think when you watch the video back, it'll probably go in better because I know myself when I've had sessions with people, they've been helping me. Things don't, when you're trying to concentrate on playing, you try to articulate your thoughts, things the other person is saying don't always sink in as much. But I think when you watch it
Yeah, that's
back and
probably it.
you
Yeah.
listen to what we've talked about, then you look at these and think, wow, we've talked about that all session, and I've still just gone and done the opposite right at the end. But I
Yeah,
expect you
that might
won't do that.
happen.
Yeah, I expect you won't do that in future sessions now, though, because I think we've got some good discussion on this in the video exactly about this topic. So I think it's been a really nice way to end the video. And yeah, I think it's been a good
Yeah, me
session.
too.
I've enjoyed it,
Yeah,
sir.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, me too.
so I think we'll be back next time, hopefully with a 10-0 video, and we can start, um, start progressing to maybe thinking about building a bankroll for either 20-0 reg tables or 30-0, which will be the next stepping stone we're going to hopefully try and jump onto. But yeah, good job, man. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it as well. And as I said, next video will be 10 and 0 because that's the limit I'm currently playing. Bonus size for that, or bonus thing for that video will be that we get some proper notes in as well, probably. So that's going to
Excellent
be
stuff.
interesting. And yeah, absolutely enjoyed it. And thanks a lot.
No problem. You're more than welcome, buddy. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.